This is Journeys of Empowerment. More than a podcast, it's a circle of belonging, where stories become turning points. I'm Michiel Sujit-Rijt, and here, we don't just share experience. We realign with what matters. Before we dive in, a quick shout out to our very first believer and sponsor, Neotopia. Operation leads know the drill. You roll out new processes, stack on training, tighten KPIs, and still something doesn't stick. The truth? It's rarely the process, it's behavior. Neotopia helps you solve the gap. In the awareness workshop, you'll discover why solid processes often break down in execution, why learning fades instead of lasting, and how to build teams that own behavior, not just follow the rules. Because change that drains your people won't last, but change that shifts behavior moves everyone forward. Ready to lead differently? Visit neotopia.nl. What if the real work isn't about fixing yourself, but remembering who you were before the world told you who to be? In this episode, I sit down with Isabel Fonseca, leadership coach and founder of the Nextfem Leaders School, a space where conscious, ambitious women reconnect with their voice, their values, and their own definition of leadership. Her story unfolds like a quiet revolution, from the grief of losing her mother to walking away from a stable career in finance. Isabel shares how becoming her, the woman she was meant to be, is not a destination, but a daily choice. We explored why ambition without self-trust leads to burnout, what feminine leaderships look like in systems built for men, the silent power of yin, energy, stillness and sweet discomfort, and how grief, friendship and intuition became her compass for change. At one point, Isabel offered this simple truth: you don't have to be fixed to be fulfilled. You just have to feel like yourself again. And if one moment stayed with me, it was this: I'm really proud of being my own biggest fan. That wasn't always the case, but now I have my own back, and from there, anything is possible. Let's begin. We're already deep diving, and I now pressed on recording, so we are live in the studio already. Isabel, nice to be here. Thank you very much for joining our conversation.
Thank you for having me here.
And you know what's interesting? This morning I posted a thing on LinkedIn centered around the question, who are you? And I love to be at events, as where we met at Equals, introduced via a mutual friend, Paola, who was also once guest in the podcast. And but loving to be on events, starting to notice that, hey, we ask people, who are you? But 9 out of 10, it's about accomplishments. It's about what we're doing. It's about a role. It's about the company we're working for. It's about education. It's about a lot of things. But it takes a lot of time before we dive into the real us part. And so I would love to introduce the question today, which I initiated on LinkedIn in a post. And it's, hi Isabel, who are you becoming?
I love it. I saw your post and I was already in the way, so I couldn't comment, but I was like, oh, I love this question. And I love the becoming part, because really becoming is begin to be. And that's how I call my program, actually, Becoming Her. So who I'm becoming? I think whenever I ask myself who I am, I like to think I am a soul, a body, and a mind in the world, and trying to live this human experience, trying to experiment this human experience that we call life, and trying to evolve myself and allow and help the humanity to evolve as well. So I think there is the dual desire of growing myself and experiencing, and sometimes we ask for experiences and then in some way we have to deal with them. Mm-hmm. But really like allowing myself to live fully. And so that's what I like to think I am. And I used to these questions in some way of the year I was shifting from one career to the other one. It was so hard because we used to recognize ourselves by what we do instead of who we are at the core. So this is who I am, and who I'm becoming. It makes me like, I don't know. I think I'm becoming a higher version of myself. I think I'm always becoming that, and it's a commitment to myself to really think like, okay, what's the higher version, and be both in this duality as well of appreciating who I am and happy who I am now and present on who I am, with also keeping the desire of becoming a higher version as well. So I think that's a nice balance to be, and of course happy with who you have been as well, no? So like past, present and future all align in some way.
And you mentioned in your coaching business, what are you coaching, and who are you coaching? What kind of approach?
Yeah, so I coach women in corporate, and I support them to lead with confidence, clarity, and authenticity. I usually say I help conscious and ambitious women. And my business, which is Nextfem Leaders School, the core of that business is really two beliefs. One is that I want more women on the top. Not any women, I want conscious and ambitious women on the top of the world, of the organizations, of anything, because I think that will give a different world, and I think it will be a more equal, more sustainable. So I want that kind of energy in the leadership. And the second one is that I believe that when women work together, we create magic. I have been witnessing this for a couple of years, working with women in women's circles. And I think it's just like when we tap into that energy together, we just make things work, some things better.
I believe that too. So I'm a big supporter about empowering women. What's interesting is we met at an event, and what I see is that you really thrive at being at an event centered around women empowerment. That's your whole. You can see that. And are you working in one-on-one or in group sessions, or what are you offering?
Yeah, so I work both. I work one-on-one. I do leadership coaching, and that's my program, Becoming Her. That's why I love the becoming question, because that's where we work with. So who are we becoming, and holding that vision, but also, as I was saying, like being present and being in love with who we are while we become. So that kind of two components. And having the clarity and confidence and authenticity, which I mean is finding ways of leading as a woman and not as a man. I think most of the career advice, and it's the same for business, it has been created for men and by men in a different world as well. So I think a lot of it is outdated, and I think we are in an in-between where we are finding, okay, what is actually being a woman and a leader? What does it even mean? And of course, it's different for each of us, but I think it's a really nice exercise that we can do together as well. So either it's one-to-one, or I also work with groups. I'm doing also a leadership accelerator with a group now in October, and also creating women's circles, women in corporate circles, because I do believe in this to exercise, one of going inside and really finding like, okay, who I am as a woman, and how do I want to show up as a female leader, and also coming together, because I think that's when we remember as well what is being a woman.
Let's say the group session. How are they coming in and how are they leaving?
Yeah, so it's super interesting because they usually come in any way. So sometimes people come tired. We do it after work as well. So you can come in any shape. Mm-hmm. You can come feeling good, you can come not feeling that good, but I think they all live with that sense of like, I'm not alone in this, and it's something that I can tell you in the one-to-one, because I am like, yes, I have coached more than 90 women. This is something that comes very often, but at the same time, whenever you hear it in a group, whenever you're talking with somebody else and they share exactly the same that you're living, it's a different feeling that reading a statistic or that I tell you, this is normal in women, this is common in women. So I think usually they leave the place with a feeling of, I'm not alone. We are together in this. This is not me. That's nothing wrong with me because I feel not comfortable in a corporate space. This is part of a bigger system shift that we are figuring it out. And I think it gives you a little bit of relief in some way, because it's not my problem and it's like a systemic problem. We're all figuring it out. And usually what I invite these women to embody in those sessions is courage, to like really like share, to really look inside, and to really, this is a programming we have, but it's not necessarily the programming we have to have. So to really challenge that, and compassion, because this is a systemic change. This is a social programming we have absorbed since we're very little. So it's kind of having both again, and kind of having the courage to change it, but the compassion, that understanding the process that it will take to change it as well. So I think usually they lead kind of with the empowerment. Sometimes I call it sweet empowerment, kind of like inspired by other women, but what other women are doing, and also with a sense of like, okay, I'm not alone in this. It's not my fault. This is part of something bigger, and we can also create the spaces to sort it out together in some way.
Beautiful. When you mentioned compassion, I got a question mark in my head because one of my values is compassion. Yet I sometimes struggle. What do I really mean by the word compassion? What means compassion in your worldview? What does it mean?
Yeah, so I think from the Latin it actually means passion means suffering, and compassion means accompanying the suffering.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of the companionship for the human suffering or the human experience in some way, or things that are costing you in some way, because this is a change, what we're talking, a shift in your mindset and a shift in the system. So having the company, being with yourself when you go through that.
Wow, it's almost sound like embracing discomfort.
Yeah.
This is thank you very much, because this helps me sort of calibrate the belief around, okay, but what do I actually mean? And I'm like, hey, embracing discomfort. Yeah, that's 9 out of 10 what you're trying to do, right? Because there's also a part of allowing in it, allowing it to be there. Yeah, embrace discomfort, allowing it to be there. Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. And one of my mentors usually, she says, learning to be comfortable in the discomfort of change or evolution. So it's kind of that exercise, which seems really contradictory, but it's kind of finding that sweet spot between evolving and also trying to be comfortable, or like mothering yourself while you do that.
Are there one or two major things which almost all women that come in share about the struggle within corporate life?
Oh, yes.
Are there one or two really that you say, okay, this is clear?
Yes. So one is perfectionism. Even if we don't like to call it perfectionism, and I always call out my clients and the women coming to the events, because nobody wants to be called a perfectionist. And I think we have this idea of perfectionism being like somebody that is super into details and and like very specifics, and it's not necessarily that. It can be also the perfectionism of I'm not ready yet, when we pull out things because no, I'm not ready, maybe in a year. That's also coming from a perfectionist side, from like waiting for the right time, waiting for the right moment, not being able to say something in a meeting because it might not be the right thing. So it comes in different ways. It doesn't come only into like I'm very detailed into an Excel and I want everything to go well, although we can as well. But that's one of the main ones that I see, and we usually work with the positive intelligence and the saboteurs.
Yes.
And it comes like almost every time. That, and very close to high achiever as well. And I guess in some way I also think I attract my own saboteurs reflected into the people I work with, which is normal. So I work with a lot of high achievers, and these are women that have done a lot and have arrived very far, but at some point that is costing them the next level, because we have this understanding that for going into leadership and going far into our careers, we need to work harder, work more, and usually it's not about that. The next step is not about working harder, but it's about understanding other parts of the work, the relationships, about building our confidence as well. So it's not really into the working hard, and the high achievers usually we have that, and we also don't trust things that go very easy. So where is the trick? And the second one that comes a lot as well is the people pleasing. So I think they are the main social conditioners for women. So we have this education that we have been programmed since very little to please the others. And yes, and I think that's also why the inner work, I think I see so much potential in women working in themselves, because even sometimes when they just bought the program or just do the investment, there is a shift of energy, because we're not that used to put ourselves first. We're usually used to put either partners, either family, either kids, everything outside, even the employer. So coming back to like first decision myself, even in those moments are like, oh yeah, I will commit for this amount of time to work with her, and I will put my energy, my time, my resources, right, and my money into it. And that already shifts the energy into kind of like, okay, I'm first, and then it's the world.
It's interesting that you mentioned the last point, that if it comes a sort of last, how can we help? Let's say people are listening to our conversation. How can we help women to make and prioritize themselves earlier, more, faster, whatever, and also allowing themselves sooner to invest in themselves? Yes. In what way? Whatever works for them. But how can we help? How can we reach out? How does it work? For instance, for you, if you know that one of the two is struggling with what I call extreme self-care without being selfish, so really investing in yourself first. If that doesn't come naturally, how can we help to make it come naturally?
Yeah. So what we do through the program is usually we first take some time to understand this part of us and to really connect that part of us that sometimes we are even annoyed of it, and to really embrace it and understand what does it want, because usually there is a second intention that is behind this people pleasing, that is looking into something, and sometimes there is other ways of responding to that part without sacrificing your own voice or decisions or time. So, but it's an exercise, and I think it's something that also grows the more you do it. So I didn't start, and I think I'm in a place where, but it's also an exercise for me, even after a decade. But I think it's something that goes every time easier. It's like a muscle, and then you go practicing it, and every time it's bigger, and it takes less exercise to maintain in some way. But it's a constantly exercise of really thinking, like, okay, where I'm doing this, is it, and I always say, like, is it out of love or is it out of fear? So is it because I want to, and somebody is asking me for help on something, and it might be like I'm a person that really, one of my values is service. So it might be that I honestly want and can, because there is two questions there. There is like, I want to do it.
Yes.
And the second is I do have the resources in time, money, space for that. And so it might be a yes. So if I answer all those questions, yes, I do it and I fully do it. Or it might be that one of those is not, like I do want to help you, but I don't have the time now. Or I do want to help you, but I don't have the money or the resources that mean. So I think it's asking yourself, and then in that case, sometimes we feel obligated to do things, and it's really not coming from out of love and connections with ourselves. It's coming more from the fear of being rejected, of that person to be annoyed, of that person to feel sad. But it's coming from a different place, not from our core in some way.
Fear of rejection, and you want to fit in and. All right. Hey, and what fulfills you the most in doing what you're doing?
What fulfills me the most? I think I really believe in the work I'm doing, and of course what fulfills me the most, and it's funny because it's not necessarily the reason you go for this program. Sometimes it's like a promotion or it's something external, no? Like it's a new job or a promotion or a transition to some industry that you love. But what makes me more happy when I see is when they have worked a few months together, and at the end sometimes they don't even have the promotion yet, but they are like, I'm feeling so better with myself. I'm feeling so comfortable in my work. I'm feeling so in love of what I do that I don't even care that much about that. And that I know that the external thing will come then, because I'm like, yeah, you're in that place of abundant and grateful and feeling so good in your own skin that the external promotion, job, whatever will come. So,
and maybe that's even secondary. The feeling, the deep feeling inside of fulfillment of whatever we love to do, is I think even more important than probably the promotion, which will come or not. But it's an external and internally that feeling that is the most fulfilling for you.
That's the most fulfilling, yes. That when I see the internal shift, or I see subtle things, or like they start to speak up in things they wouldn't, maybe even in a conflict, they just go and reach out to the manager with something they were not okay with. And I ask, like, would you have done this before? And they're like, no, that's actually not something I would normally do. And that's when I know that something is shifting. And I know that in a year or two, like the promotions, the things that, like, those things will happen naturally because something inside changed.
And congratulations, your company is now 2 years, just became 2 years. You celebrated last week, I guess. Yeah, that was great. Wow. So 2 years. Were you already an entrepreneur when you started? what you now start and what you're now doing, or
No.
how did that go?
Yes. So my background is in finance. So I start as an accountant. I'm from Uruguay. I start in one of the big fours. I work for 8 years there. And then I moved at 28. I wanted a little of a change. So I moved to Dublin. And I study a master in finance, and again I continue in insurance. I work for Allianz. Then I move here with my partner, also working in insurance. And 2 years ago I decided to be an entrepreneur. But it was something that it didn't happen 2 years ago. It started a decade ago. So I lost my mom 10 years ago. And that got me into a journey of personal development, of professional development as well, coaching, yoga, meditation. It's kind of like a personal / spiritual journey. And that was growing. So it grew a space in my life every time more. At the beginning was just something to release and heal my grief. And later on, it became such a part of my identity and myself and my routines and my practices that it was really growing. And 2 years ago, I felt that I needed to integrate these two parts of me, like a very corporate part. I'm very practical. I'm the person that usually has an Excel for everything. I'm very organized. And at the same time, I'm very spiritual. I think one of my main strengths is my intuition. And it felt for a little bit that they were going in two different tracks, and 2 years ago I needed to find a way of like merging them in some way. So I took some time and off, and then started the business 2 years ago, and you're aware of the journey that is to be an entrepreneur.
Beautiful. It went very fast, but we will go a little bit into detail in every aspect and part of your journey. But wow, that's so a finance corporate background, and one of the four, the big four, how we say, and now and. What is your role now then? How do you pronounce your role yourself now?
Yeah, so I call myself a leadership coach and also the founder of Nextfem Leaders School.
Nextfem Leaders School. We will for sure put that in the show notes. You mentioned the loss of your mother. And we had, of course, already our pre-conversation about that. And you mentioned something that will still stays with me. And that is, I think, so powerful. What you mentioned then in our conversation is that it sort of helped you to feel more alive. So what did you mean by that?
Yeah. So I lost my mom a decade ago through cancer. So I was traveling for 6 months in Asia and Europe in 2014. When I arrived back, just 2 weeks after, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. It was her third time having cancer, but this time it went really quickly. So she had it in her spine, and it went really quickly to the brain. And it only took 3 months in the hospital, and she died. So for me at that moment, it really shook my floor in some way, because I was coming from all this 6-month journey that also we prepared for 2 years in college. So it was like kind of this big thing, and I met so beautiful places. I was all around Asia, and it was really a place that reconnect me with my love of traveling as well, and love for different cultures. So I was feeling very grateful when I came back, and this happened, and it really shake my world. And in some way, I feel maybe even life prepared me in some way, giving me these 6 months of being in gratitude for what it was coming, but close to death in some way. That's what I told you before. I think it made me closer to life. And that was for a few things. One was that when my mom said goodbye to us, she was so grateful of her life, and I really felt that deeply pride in what she lived. And of course she didn't want to live because of being so happy with her life, but she felt quite achieved and quite happy with what she made of this life experience. So that was the first one, that led into me thinking, okay, would I be happy if I live tomorrow? Because also having somebody that dies next to you puts really into perspective that we are here, and it's very subtle, she was walking, she was living, and in 2 weeks she couldn't, her legs wouldn't react, and then it just went slower, losing parts until she died. So even she was also telling me at some point, I have been worried all my life about so many stuff, and now I realized that the only thing important was actually to be healthy and to walk and to be using all my body, and now my body is not reacting. So yeah, that put me into perspective. And also her question made me ask, like, okay, if I live tomorrow, would I be happy? And the answer was not nice, because I would be like, I don't feel I have made anything in my life that was me, like a stamp of Isa was here. I felt at that moment I have been following a checklist of the things I thought that would make me happy. And to be very honest, I think it's things I convinced myself, because my parents were really, in that sense, they were really open into do whatever you want. It's not that they wanted me to be an accountant. I'm the first accountant in the family, actually. But it was something that I decided this will make me happy. And I felt I was following that checklist in everything, like with the shop, with the relationships, starting to already think like to buy a house. So really following this. And I start challenging everything. And after, in the middle of the grief, so the first year of the grief, I was really taking care of more of my family. So my dad, my sister, and I was living with my mom's mom, so with my granny. So it was outer focus. But on the second year, I was really lucky that meditation came. I was in a barbecue and somebody mentioned meditation. And I was like, tell me more about that, because I want to explore that. And it was something that my mom introduced to me very little. But for years, I kind of stepped away of that. So my mom was very spiritual. She was into Reiki, into alternative medicines. So I came back to that practice and opening meditation, yoga, and it made me really challenge everything. So I started challenging all the areas of my life, from my lifestyle to my friendships. I had to let go so many friendships that were not aligned to the person I was becoming in some way. So my relationship as well in that moment. And then I decided to go to Ireland, because it was a dream I had for a long time, and it was the first dream first step that felt it makes no sense, and it's coming from my gut in some way, or from my intuition, and it's very clear, but it doesn't make any sense, because I was very old.
Yeah, not in a logical way, not in a practical sort of blue-green, like, okay, it's a next step in the breakdown. Or on your sheet or your checklist or whatever. No, it felt deep down from inside, but it felt the right step to do. Isabel, may I ask just one question, and that is, you started to notice that some people were aligned and some people weren't aligned with who you are becoming. What were the biggest value changes you went through? You noticed that some people were not aligned anymore with your values. It's always a value shift, right? So what can we learn? What can we unpack there?
That's an interesting question. I think I became more clear in what was important and who was there for me, because also it was interesting to see when you are going through grief, who is there. And I think for me, true friendships in the long term has been those that can be there both when I'm in the lowest and when I'm in the highest. And sometimes when I'm in either of them, you get clear in who was there, not as a true friendship in my eyes. So I think I became clear in what was a friendship for me and what kind of people I wanted to have around.
It's interesting. You mentioned friendship and also a sort of, what is friendship for you? What does friendship mean for you?
What does friendship? I think it's what you told me downstairs, is your chosen family.
Yeah. For me, that's true. For me, that's if I look at those pictures, for me, let's turn the question around. For me, friendship is, and I never believed I will ever find unconditional love, but I truly, for all the friends you're looking at the pictures downstairs, I really feel a feeling of unconditional love. So whatever happens, whatever they need, whatever is in my possibility to help, to serve, to also annoy. I love to annoy. So I love to, I love to be critical. I love to be, to stir things up. Sometimes really pin where the tension is for growth. Always comes from a good place and from big respect. Tough love. I say most often, if some of my friends were listening to this episode, it was, Michi, we know you. But that's friendship. And what you mentioned is so important. It's one of the fundamentals also in trauma recovery. It's Bessel van der Kolk, of the author of the book The Body Keeps the Score, made a very big impression in the first live webinar when I did the course. And he said, one of the most profound experiences while we're feeling and having a trauma is the question, who was there for you? So who was there for you? And if you were lonely, that in and on itself is already a trauma. So without even something happening, being all on your own, nobody around you, that's already a trauma. And who was there for you? So I think it's a very important value to be there in the high and the low. So that sounds like a definition of friendship, right?
Yeah. I love what you say, unconditional love. And that's what I felt with some people. And who is there for you in the ways that you need for it to be there. Because I remember people coming into the hospital and bringing us dinner when we didn't even realize that we were hungry, because we were so concerned in other things. So being in the little things, or asking me if I needed a lift to the hospital, or I remember one of my friends even like helping me to hoover my house and to cook for my dad when I went on the weekends, because my dad lived in another city, so I used to go twice a month. He was alone, so I used to cook things and leave it in the freezer, and my friend helping me to just cook things. So it's not only be there, but be there in the way that I needed. So she would ask me, what do you need? I need to cook for my dad. So, okay, I will go and cook with you. And I discovered I was really lucky to have those people. So the other people became like, and I don't want to be mean, because I don't think it was not with blaming or shaming, but for me it became a different scale. I was like, okay, this is my people. And then the other people, if I have time, I can see them. But my focus is on this group of people that show me that I can really count with them. And the same in the highs, because I think not everybody will be happy when life is also smiling at you. And I'm really grateful that the same group that was there when I was in the low has also been able to be with me when I'm celebrating and when life is looking better and when I'm thriving. They are also there supporting me and happy and genuinely happy.
Genuinely happy. Yeah, that's also important, that you feel that no matter what situation your friend is themselves, if you are in a good place, they are really happy for you, unconditionally. So not being self-centered around their situation at that moment, but they can generally really feel happy, you being happy at that moment. Yeah. Let's unpack grief a little bit, because it's a complex, it's a pervasive, it's heavy, it can feel as a burden, and it's different stages. What helped you the most in that period from losing your mom when you were 26 and when you were 26? And what helped you ultimately to? Can you say you are healed or healing?
That's a good question. I don't know if you ever heal grief. I think you just learn to live with it. And it becomes such a part of you that, recently I have been thinking, and sometimes I'm like, I don't even know who I would be without the grief. Because the grief put everything into perspective and it really shifted every decision I took after. So I'm not sure, if you ever heal, and especially when I was in grief, that for me was also concerning. I really didn't want to forget my mom. So I was like really being loyal to the sadness. And at some point I understood that and what helped me the most was talking to people that experience it, because it's a very lonely journey. And although there was a lot of people supporting me, people usually support you at the beginning of the grief, while the real grief is 1 year in, or in that first year and a little bit of the second. So sometimes, I remember to start crying in PwC and people being surprised, like 6 months after, and it was just because I listened my mom's favorite song, and people would be like really surprised, but why you cry? What's happening? I'm like, this my mom died, and they will be like, oh, but that was far ago, and it was just 6 months. But I think there is a lot of, and I'm happy we're talking about this, because I became really passionate about talking about grief, because I think we don't talk enough. And it's something that we will all experience at some point of our human experience. I don't think you will ever, unless you live a very short life, you will likely experience grief of somebody very close. But I don't think it's something we talk enough. And in some way we have so many taboos about death. That one of the things that helped me the most was finding people, and it was very random people that actually have lost someone. And sometimes also grief is in different ways, like a divorce can be a grief as well. So I remember having a very close friend that she was going through a divorce, and we could relate in what we were feeling, even if it was not exactly the same. But having the people around that I could talk about what I was experiencing and understanding what I was experiencing, because I think we don't have the understanding. So I remember to be so tired also, and to be not myself. And of course I did therapy the first year, and that really helped me, because my psychologist will remind me that was grief. But I think having that space, and that's also why I'm so passionate about the women's circles that we did, because it was a space where we can come with whatever is happening and honor it and really talk about it and give it a space in some way without judging it. It's just, this is what is going on for us.
Allowing it to be there.
Yeah.
And also sit with it in the discomfort. It really can feel discomfort.
Yeah. We come back to being comfortable in the discomfort.
Wow. And when did you start? You started meditation when your mother was already passed away.
Yes.
So you started meditation, and I can imagine that doesn't start it easy, right? I'm trying to meditate, but it doesn't come natural. How did you start the meditation journey?
So I start very little with my mom. So my mom used to put me these audios to fall asleep because I have insomnia from very little. And there was these audios that they were guiding you through a meditation. We didn't call it meditation by then. It was just a psychologist that did this audio, and we had like these CDs. But I could relate to that, and also I did yoga when I was little with my mom as well as a teenager, and I remember like that body scan at the end of the class was kind of my favorite part of the class. And how I start back was not really meditation at the beginning. It was breath work. So I came into the Art of Living, that is a worldwide organization, and I did their training, and I think there was so much in me to heal that I heal it through breath work and their exercise. So they have their own method, but basically it's different exercise of using the breath, and that allowed me to start the practice and to go into more meditative state. And the first time I did it, I could connect with my mom. So that for me was a way of connecting with her, and it became a practice because here and there I could feel her and talk to her. So that's also why I became passionate about it. But yes, it actually started with breath work, so maybe it's a good tip.
A good tip. Yeah, well, I will dive into it, and I think it's the right time to do that, and also being in solitude and really in the stillness. There's so much growth opportunity in there. I truly believe that. So I'm starting with the book Stillness is the Key from Ryan Holiday. I just finished his book Ego. Ego is the enemy. It will change your life forever. I can assure you. So for me, books are really helpful to also go inward and to discover a lot of ourselves. It helps us calibrate. It helps us better understand. Are there also some books on your path which helped you ultimately also to become who you are becoming?
Yes. So I brought them because we talked before.
Interesting.
You make me actually think which are the books, yes, I also came back to reading in that period of my time. So I was raised in my house reading. Everybody was a reader, so they were all very avid readers. My mom would read like a few books a week, and my granny as well. Yeah, they were like really, maybe a bit intimidating. So I was always like, I'm not the reader of the family. I'm like the black sheep. But when I went through that period, I kind of found some relief into personal development books as well. So it became a habit in the last decade. I'm not a avid reader as them, but I do think I do love a good book. And I'm quite picky. I don't find every book I love it, but I also think like books are information, and it's really who you are when you read them. So I have books that I start reading them and I leave them, and I'm like, no, this is so boring. And one of those is actually Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself from Joe Dispenza. And then early this year, for some reason, I was like, I'm going on holiday, so I will take it. And I opened it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm like, why didn't I? And I was just not ready. So I think books are information, and it's how we relate to that wherever we are. So we might see it different. But the books that you asked me, which are really important books in my journey, and one of them is The Alchemist of Paulo Coelho. So that was a book I was reading in Brazil when I went with my family, and when I really decided I want to study abroad and I want to do this for myself. So that was kind of, I always remember kind of, that's the book that took me, and alchemy is really the science of making metal gold.
Bare metal and gold. Yeah.
And I think there is something into the grief as well there, because it's kind of like the ability of making something shitty that happened into your life gold, and taking the opportunities from that. And I think that has been my journey with grief. So yeah, it's a book I love. It's really easy, simple, and it's just the journey of the alchemist, and it's just about pursuing your dreams. And and then the other one, because I brought a few of them, the other one that was quite important in my journey, and it kind of relates with what you're saying about stillness, because at some point of my journey, I also start practicing yin yoga. Mm-hmm. Do you know yin yoga? Okay. So yin yoga is, the Chinese philosophy of yin and yang?
No, it's not about me. So
briefly, we can share.
Yeah,
we can share.
I can say yes, but it's not about me. So explain for the audience, and then still learn a lot.
This is the thing, I forget there is an audience. I'm like talking with you.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
So that there's this Chinese philosophy of yin and yang, and these are two energies of the universe. So the yang universe, and it's also called the masculine energy in some way, it's more related, it's more like a discipline energy, it's more like the focus, it's more linear, and it's more bright. So for example, if we go to nature, that would be the sun, that will be the day, that will be the summer. That's a very active energy. And then on the opposite of that, there is the yin energy, that is more passive energy, it's more slow energy. It's also called feminine energy. And it's also the energy that is more cyclical, and it's also darker. And so in terms of nature would be winter, would be the night. It's more passive energy, so slow. It's more like compassionate energy as well. It's more relation to emotions and to the nurture of a mother, for example. So that's kind of these two energies. These two energies coexist in everything. So both men and women, we have both masculine and feminine energy, and yang and yin energy. And yin yoga is the yoga where we really, and I'm a teacher of that, because I became so passionate that I became a teacher later.
Course.
Of course. That's why natural way of going. So in yin yoga, what we practice is different. We don't target the muscle, and we target more the yin parts of the body, which are the connective tissues. And really what you do is to stay still in a position for 3 to 6 minutes. Yeah. And when I started practicing that, it was so interesting, because I absolutely hated the first classes I went.
I can imagine. Yeah. 3 to 6 minutes. And that feels, only the thought of it feels really uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, boring, and I think
for me, boring is the most biggest part of uncomfortability. I think boring, being still,
inefficient,
inefficient. Like, okay, are we done? Can we go? Can we move on? 3 to 6 minutes.
And I have exactly the same thought as you. When I was in that class, I was like, this is such a waste of time. And then for some reason, I don't know, there was something that was like, if I find this challenging, there is some learning on this. So I kind of challenged myself to come back. And at the first, I think even year, I had to go to a very active yoga class before, so I could relax in the second one. So in the yin class, I could be more present. So I would, after physical exercise, I would be tired. And after the end of the first class, that is more like a meditation at the very end, I would be in a more comfortable position to accept that uncomfort of the 3 to 5 minutes of each pose. Some of them are also opening the hips. So it brings a lot of emotions, a lot of resistance, and it was such an interesting process because I became every time more comfortable with that and relating to the book, because this is the book that came in the middle of the pandemic that we talked, that was also part of my journey. It's called Warrior Goddess Training, Becoming the Woman That You Are Meant to Be, from Hederash Amara. And it was super interesting book because she's talking about merging those two energies, and especially for women in the last century, we're really step into our masculine energy, and even in an overdose of it, because we live in a patriarchy and we live in a system that really reward the yang energy, you know, the part of like, we love summer, and it's really like you start noticing everywhere that we really reward that part, extrovert, active, productive, linear, efficient, and that kind of understanding that we have achieving like 9 to 5, the same energy every day for the every part of the year.
As if that is even true, 9 to 5, the same energy. We all have different energy cycles. As if it's true that somebody can be every day between 9 and 5. Luckily, we found out that everybody has a different energy cycle, but sometimes society still forces it upon us, right?
Yeah, I think we have like a really like a reward on that, or the system really lying on that part, and we really forget the other part that really retrofeeds, right? Because we need the night, and I think there's even studies of how little the earth will last if we didn't have nights or we didn't have winters, you know. So we really need that part for the other one to go on. And it's not that discipline is bad, or it's not that productivity is bad. It's more that I think we have forgotten the other side of it, the other side of the coin in some way. I also think it relates to grief, because I think we also denied that, and we have so many taboos on that, because it's also related to our darkness, to our shadows, to the part of life that is not on the top, that is not happy. So yeah, it's a really interesting book because she does kind of a training on how to integrate those two areas, those two energies, especially for women.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I see last one lying
this
there.
Is something I'm reading
I'm really
now.
Curious. I'm really curious about that one.
I'm reading now. So I just started, but I quite like it. So I actually gave it to a few friends. And it's called Playing Big, from Tara Moore. And it's for women who want to speak up, stand out, and lead.
Wow. Yeah. For women who want to speak up, stand out, and lead. This one is going to resonate with many. Just back it's to really the yoga, yin. Yin yoga. The question I have for you is, was it always for you important to do something which felt uncomfortable? Was that already from youth, or did that came later? When did that start?
I think it was from youth, and then I lost it, and then it came back. That would be probably, I think when I was a kid, I was very adventurous, probably not good for my parents, but I was very curious, and like I didn't have, actually my mom had to take care of me, because I would go with the strangers, and like a few times she found me like just living with 2 strangers and like bye, no problem. So I think I had that curiosity and like natural like adventure kind of side, but then in life I kind of went more on a safe way, because I'm also very practical, and I think for me the last 10 years have been to integrate those sides and to give space to those sides, and not to go fully into one and forget the other one, because I did both sides. I went fully on one side and then fully on the other one as well. So yeah, I think for a little bit I lost it, and the first time I remember to come back to that was when I went into the trip to Asia and Europe, and I had kind of a little bit of, I do still have some vertigo and some height fear. So I remember that I kind of, and I'm not saying this as an advice, this just worked for me. I just went on the first plane and I was like, I'm going to take 40 planes in these 6 months. I cannot suffer in all of them. And I don't want to allow this to be the thing that will ruin my trip. So I just looked down every time.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Until it became like super okay. And until I could like look down and sleep and like, and awake when the flight landed. So it worked for me. I'm not saying it as an advice, but I think like playing with your edges has been something that I like to do, and not to put myself into, and I always say like little edges, not to go from 1 to 100 because it can traumatize you.
Yeah.
So for me that was an edge, and it was an edge I could do. But yes, I think it's something I always try to do, that like, what is the next edge that will make me both excited and like give me something in the belly, you know, like, oh, what is this? So yes, I think it's something that came in that trip, and I was really conscious of it. So I started doing it more proactive. And when I was in the yin class, there was something telling me like this is something to learn, because you're so uncomfortable in this moment that I think there is some learning on that.
What happens if uncomfortable becomes comfortable? Does it get boring for you? Because I can imagine you're now a teacher in yin yoga. Is it now boring for you because it became less? Is it still okay? Sorry. Back to the question I want to ask is, the first question I have is, yin yoga still sometimes uncomfortable for you?
Yes, I think so, because physically is way less. So being still is way less, and I do practice way less. And I think that's the thing, we evolve. So at some point I was really guilty about my yoga practice because I was seeing that it was not a thing anymore. And then I was like, no, that's actually, being a yogi for me is a philosophy, and it has evolved. So in last year I started strength training, and for me now is what is working for my body, and it was coming also from intuition. And so I was like, okay, that meant I really step out from my traditional yoga practice, more into Ashtanga and those more active styles. And I still do some yin yoga, but being still is not a challenge itself anymore. I can really like relax into. But it depends on the day as well. I think also there might be a day that I'm still in my mind, and it's the same with meditation. I think the practice is like really coming back, not like never going, you know, because if I'm very nervous, if I'm very busy, or it might still happen that I'm practicing and it feels uncomfortable, or I'm in my mind, or I cannot relax. So I think that's the practice.
Can you imagine yourself being 10 days in Vipassana?
I don't know. That's the one that they don't speak? Yeah.
For 10 days.
For 10 days. Yeah.
Because I'm really pushing a friend of mine who really is in the stage of his life that he needs to go inward instead of looking for every distraction outward.
Yeah.
And he agreed. So he will go deep into, and I was like, oh, but I wouldn't dare to do that. So, but I know for him it will be very helpful. But do you see yourself being 10 days?
For some reason, I was never attracted, because the Art of Living even did it before with a weekend or like 4 days or something like that. And for some reason, I think that's something that feels challenging, but I don't feel like the curiosity or, I have never felt attracted to the actually going like full, maybe at some part of my life, because I think that's the thing, we change and our practices change with us, you know, and we evolve, and things that as I told you, the book, sometimes we pick on things later and be like, oh, I actually love this. And strength training for me was that. I never liked it. And last year I came back and I was like, I actually love this. I really enjoy it. So I think, we change, and maybe at some point. But I was never attracted. Before I was like, that sounds interesting, but not for me.
If you look back at your lived experience and all the stages in your life where you went through, what are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of? I think let me think. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is be really comfortable with who I am. And I think people feel that and they take it as probably it was always like that. But I'm like, no, this was a long, long journey. And I'm really proud of being my own best fan. And I think it does have, the grief had an influence on that, because I lost my best fan, which was my mother. So I kind of learned how to be that for myself in some way. And I think that's one of the things I'm more proud of, and that I work with people to also build that, because I think if you have that, then anything is possible if you have your own back,
What helped you?
A lot of inner work, like thousands of things. Yes, a lot of time trying to know who I am. And I think I always put the example, when we start dating somebody, what we do, we spend time with them. So a lot of time trying to, okay, who is Isa? If we take all the constructions, if we take all the social programming, who I am, what makes me smile, what makes me sad, what makes me angry, and really diving into that. Of course, with coaches, I'm still working with I started working with a coach 5 years ago. We still work together with therapy as well, meeting other people, traveling. I think anything that relates, the practice, the yoga practice, the inner practice, the meditation. But I think it's more like a decision of using the time and your resources into knowing yourself better, into every time knowing a little layer of yourself. And as I say, it's like a constant exercise, because we change. So I'm always challenging, oh, okay, I didn't like that before. Do I like it now? Because we change. And sometimes it happens even I don't know if it happened to you, but for me, even with food, I hate aubergines when I was a child. And then I tried them in my 20s and I'm like, oh, I love this now. It's my favorite, my favorite veggie. So I think it's a constant
evolving
and asking yourself okay, what do I like, what makes me happy.
Since we're heading a little bit to the end of our conversation, it would be interesting can you share what was the initial reason for you stepping into coaching? And 5 years ago, you mentioned 5 years ago with the same person. What was your initial quest or thought, and what helped you to reach out to a coach, or was somebody mentioned to you, or because you're yourself also coaching? So how did it work for yourself?
Yes, I think I told you this in our call before, that for me all this journey and all this work didn't start to help the world, didn't start to make the world better, but it was really to find tools to heal myself and to be more comfortable with myself, and to come back to life in some way, to be more present into this life, and to make this a full experience. And I think the grief, even made me ask the question, is this worth it? Because I think that's a very taboo question that people who suffer depression sometimes ask themselves. And I think we have a lot of judgment around that. But I think it's a fair question because life can be hard. It's not like we can't suffer going through life, and this experience go through all the emotions, and there is grief, there is sadness, there is anger, there are emotions that are not comfortable. So I think it's a fair question to ask ourselves at some point, is it worth it? And for me, the answer was yes. So then it was looking tools and ways of like, okay, given that it was a yes, how can we make this the most enjoyable experience so that when I leave, and coming back to my mom, that when I leave with that feeling of like, okay, this lasts whatever it had to last, but I make the best of it, and I'm happy and proud of what it was. So in that request, in that internal request, one of the things that I started asking myself was about my career. I was like, okay, I'm spending a lot of time in my career. How can I make my career more aligned to this, or more aligned to myself? And in the middle of the pandemic, there was a lot of introspection for me. I don't know how I arrived to coaching, but basically I found my coach in this Coach Me Free website, and we instantly resonate. She was a lawyer and also a yoga teacher, and she stepped out from corporate, and yeah, we start coaching, and it has been beautiful because also we went through different countries. I was in Ireland, she was in London, and now she's in Australia because she's Australian.
Just around the corner.
Yeah, and I'm in the Netherlands. So it has been even funny to see how we even changed time zones, and yes, and we have been working together, and what the best thing I got from that experience was really connecting back to the intuition, which is also part of the feminine energy side. And that was something that I always had, and I think is one of my gifts, but I never explored or learned how to use it. So that became something we have worked a lot, and we still work, because I think it's something that, that's still to explore. So that's how I came. And when she started coaching me, I remember, because when I was, before being an accountant, I considered to be a psychologist at some point. I always loved people, so I really had that clarity. But both of my parents were doctors. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, I had some rejections to the health part, and I'm very empath, so I always felt I couldn't deal with that. And also I saw them talking about sick people at dinner, at lunch, so I had a bit of like, I don't want to repeat that story. And it's funny because it's my sister is a vet, so I'm the only one that was not in the health part, but I did have that kind of healing side of that service side that maybe before I didn't find a way to express in finance, or although I do believe that you can do it. And actually the coaching helped me to, even when I was in finance, explore that part of me and bring it into what I was doing as well. So yeah, that's how I arrived to her in some way. And when she started coaching, I realized, I don't know, I think it's like when I met my partner, I have the same, it's just like a feeling, like this is it. And I told you this in the discovery call, that for years I was praying and asking like for my partner and my mission, and they both arrived the same year when I actually stopped looking, and I was like, I'm very happy with my life. Yeah, that's how it happens. That's
the beauty of life,
yeah,
right?
That's the beauty
you can't force it.
No, you can't. So when she started coaching me, I was like, this is what I want to do. And then, of course, it was a few years of seeing how do we translate that into a career. And at the beginning, it was just really incorporating more of that into my current position. There was nothing to do, but that I think by the time I left that position was more Isa than the description.
Beautiful. So it works for you.
Yeah.
It works for you. Isa, last from my side is if there is one message you would want to every woman to hear, what is that one message?
One message. Okay, every woman to hear. I think what we kind of touched a little bit at the beginning, that we are in a transition, and we are getting to know ourselves again as women, and the concept, I don't know if you know the concept of liminal leadership.
Yes.
It came recently to me and I was like, wow, this is what we have been doing. And I didn't have a word for it. But it's, that like leading in the in-between
Yes.
of where we are and where we are going.
Yes.
And I think it's that. So if I have a message for every woman is to cultivate the courage and the compassion to go through that in-between that we are now.
Beautiful.
In the many ways that can happen and be.
Beautiful. Fall in love with the liminal stage between A and B. It came originally from anthropology, but I always struggle with that word. I think you know what I mean, anthropology.
Yeah, me too.
And so we all evolve, and there's change and there's shift, and in between growth stages. And that liminal space is where a lot of uncertainty is, and there we can grow and we can learn. Isabel, thank you so much for being here, for our conversation. Also for a new definition for friendship. And I love that.
I love that as well. Like I'm very spontaneous.
Yeah. And thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to see what the future might bring. That's maybe the last question. Where do we see Isabel? Do you have a sort of future vision for what you're doing with your company and the women you are helping? And is there a sort of dream behind it? A sort of big, humble, audacious goal, or keep doing what I'm doing? What is?
Yeah, I think it's very funny because when I started the business, I call it my name because I don't know what I'm building, so I don't want to change 10 times. And I in the last year, I have been asking myself, okay, what is the name? What are we doing here? Because it became clear that it was something further than coaching and circles and yoga, that it was something a bit further, and that we were really giving back a voice to womanhood in some way. And I was in the border of the waterfalls in Iguazu this year, and it just came like, we are the Nextfem Leaders. And that's how the name came. And I add the school because I think it's a place to learn and to grow together. So the vision in some way is big and is in construction at the same time. I think I will keep expanding spaces where we can do that. Either is leadership trainings like the one we're starting in October in group, or either is women's circles, or either is one-to-one, or workshops with companies I'm working as well that want to promote their female leaders. So in the different ways that can look, but a school for preparing and helping us to have the space to grow into that in-between phase.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Journeys of Empowerment is more than a podcast. It's a circle of belonging. Here stories become turning points, and the ripples go far beyond a single episode. If this conversation moved something in you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because sometimes, one story is all it takes. Keep listening to what matters. Keep going, and keep being you.